So, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. My name is John Lunn, aka Jonnychipz, and in this video series, we talk about all things cloud with experts and advocates from right across the industry, covering a huge variety of topics from skills and careers through to technical overviews and soft skills. So, whether you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or LinkedIn, thanks so much for watching. It really is appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. Please do take part in the chat below. Drop us a comment, a like, and if you can subscribe to the channel, that would be hugely appreciated. Okay, so my next guest is a senior cloud solutions architect working at Microsoft at the moment. She is a mentor and a huge ambassador for STEM topics and encouraging others to take up a career in this fantastic industry. So, residing in Stockholm, Sweden, it brings me great joy to welcome my next guest on In Conversation With as Vanessa Anderson. How you doing, Vanessa? Thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
No, thanks for joining. It's been great. It's been, I think we've been chatting over the last few months about getting you on and having a bit of a catch up because I've seen some of the bits and pieces you've been up to across the socials. But it's great to have you on the show, Vanessa. Thanks for giving up your time and coming to say hello to me.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
So I know we've spoken off camera and there's some really interesting and cool areas we want to chat around. But before we get stuck into all that goodness, look, I don't know if you want to give yourself a little bit of a better intro and just let us know maybe a little bit of a potted career history and how you came to be where you are at Microsoft at the moment. That'd be cool.
Sure. So I would say my background is pretty colorful. As you can tell, I'm an island girl. So I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. I spent most of my life in the US, specifically Brooklyn, New York. And I'm also a mom. My daughter is at medical school now. So in terms of how I started, I actually started off doing chemical engineering at university. And I actually had a summer job at a software development firm, and as an engineering major, I already had exposure to C and C++, data structures. So I had some exposure to technology or computer science classes, and that experience going into a small software development firm where there were lots of young people working there. I saw something I was like, I think I could do this too. That coupled with, I'm very competitive. So there was a bet as well. And so at that time, this is like over 2 decades ago, I've been in technology for over 20 years. Folks were doing programming in Power Builder, Visual Basic, Java. And a colleague actually, he asked me if I was able to, review the code and if I understood, the logic of the code. And he was quite surprised when I actually said, well, yeah, I'm doing, C programming in school. So he was like, well, why don't you, would you consider a career in technology? And at that time, Microsoft had like MCSE, those certifications. And I said, I just did a quick assessment of, okay, I'm in college, my existing major, the return on investment. And I had a conversation with my parents. I said, look, mom and dad, I'm changing my major. I also had my daughter, so I was a young parent as well. So I'm in school, in college, university. I'm a young parent. I did the switch and I did my certifications. And in that specific organization, I shifted from working as, I was, a receptionist for the summer. When I got my certifications over a period of 4 months, they switched me into working on the front desk like half the day, and then I worked with the network administrator. And at that time, that was like they had NT, Novell, And within, I would say, a total of 6 months, I moved on and moved to Citibank, and it was no looking back. I started NT, was a bit of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Did SMS, um, I did exchange, and then
Hmm.
I focused, decided that was like my sweet spot. As you know, with NT, then came Active Directory. Stayed with Exchange up until 2013, and this is when I moved to the UK.
Hmm.
I worked in the financial industry in the US. I worked at the stock exchange, a lot of the big banks doing migrations. And then when I moved to the UK at that time, that was when Microsoft was sort of doing a sweep with organizations with regards to their licenses. And
Okay. Yeah.
it was a surge where organizations, they took advantage of the Office 365 suite. So they were moving from Exchange on premises to Exchange online, and similarly, we had Link, which then changed to Skype. So I that it was a natural sort of progression into that. So the
Hmm.
first year in the UK, I shifted to working in the partner space. I worked with a small partner, and I worked as a consultant for the first year, and then I shifted in that role as a consultant. I did a mix of delivering the solutions, but also
Hmm.
doing workshops with stakeholders and so forth. So I had the exposure dealing with stakeholders in the US. um, when you work with Exchange, kind of like the CTO would literally walk on the floor, what's going on with my Exchange service. So I never had an issue with that. I had that experience, but I built on that where, now I was going out to customers and having conversations and justifying some of our designs, challenging
Hmm.
some of even their views on how things should be deployed. And I built upon that, those skills. I then shifted to working as a solutions architect. So a year in, I shifted into that role, and I worked as a solutions architect until last year, which then I started this role as a senior cloud solutions architect. I would say the
Hmm.
difference is in the solutions architect role is a combination of pre-sales as well as designing the solutions for the customers. So again, challenging, sort of showing what the art of what's possible. Obviously it requires you to have um, technical knowledge. Some will sort of debate, you don't need to be technical. That's not been my experience. I definitely think
Yeah.
you need to be, but equally it's important to have those soft skills and speak in a language that delivers that impact. The things that are important to stakeholders are like discussions on how much money are you going to save me. I have this need
Hmm.
to move out to my data center and I need to do it in this limited time frame. How can you support me with that? So that that became sort of like my sweet spot. And with every customer, that offered new challenges. And yeah, that's how. So I started off with Office 365, and then uh, transitioned into Azure because there's a lot. Uh, I remember when I first started, Microsoft every Tuesday they would have
Yeah.
updates
Yeah.
on Azure. That has since just skyrocketed, and it's a lot, but it's dynamic and I love it. Yeah.
I was going to say, Vanessa, I mean, that's a fantastic career history you've got. I mean, there's certainly elements that I can kind of resonate with. There's certain paths that you mentioned there that I personally have worked alongside as well. I was going to ask you because I know you're very heavily involved in the Azure platform now,
Yeah.
in that role that you're currently doing as that senior cloud solutions architect. How did you find that transition, Vanessa? When you're talking on-prem kit, designing and implementing solutions like Exchange and Link, Skype. How did you find that transition over into that cloud space? Are there any kind of key things that have stood out to you in that transition, do you think?
So I would say from a customer side or from personally from a tech.
Yeah, I
Uh,
suppose like clearly, you've got a lot of tech background there. I
mhm.
mean, did you have to change the way that you think about, how things work in the cloud, or was there any poignant things that stuck out to you with kind of learning the stuff in the
Yeah,
cloud?
so definitely you have to evolve, on premises, or, the mindset can be very rigid. I know this specific product or, technology, and I guess the iterations of that, you simply learn that. In the cloud
Sure.
world, moving to the cloud, you have to expand your knowledge and be open-minded. So hence that, I love that concept of having a growth mindset. You can
Hmm.
be an infrastructure, as an example for myself, being an infrastructure cloud solutions architect. It didn't limit me from exploring AI or machine learning or DevOps, bicep, so it's shifting from containerizing your mindset of, okay, I'm only going to focus on this specific thing,
Hmm.
versus sort of like the world is your oyster, and being agile as well, right? You can be doing focusing on a specific service. I know personally, in my experience, one month, I have an interest in X service, and two
Hmm.
months from now, I am totally, knee deep in another technology and enjoying
Yeah.
it. So I love that flexibility. It's a wild ride. It's like a roller coaster. But that's why we're in technology anyway. If we wanted to have like a mundane day, we would probably choose
Do,
another
do,
profession.
do
Yeah.
you know, you're so right, because I think, I think we as technologists or people working in tech with a technical track as our job, I guess we're kind of used to having to think on our feet, keep up with change,
Yes.
not be averse to change. And I think for me, it was this whole bombardment of, wow, look at all this new, fancy, new, shiny tech.
Yeah.
Where do you start? And then I think, I don't know if you've seen it the same, Vanessa, but as you dip more into the cloud tech and you realize,
Hmm.
well, actually, I'm no longer talking about that feeding and watering and a tin and getting kit and
Hmm.
specifying kit and building it. I'm now able to kind of broaden my horizons. I mean,
Yes.
has that kind of opened your eyes up to any other areas, in, like you mentioned a few key areas there, like AI and space like that?
Yes.
What's your take on that broadening your horizons? If that's the best way to frame it. I mean, have you got
Yeah.
any
Yeah,
views?
that's actually a great point where you've mentioned or touched on broadening my ideas. So personally, for me, the route I have taken was basically, uh, it was based on, individual or the respective organizations for which I worked.
Mhm.
What were they aligned to, or what were their priorities? And so I would sort of deprioritize and prioritize based on that. And in most instances, it happened to be things or topics that I was interested in. So, as an example, Azure Arc that
Yeah,
hybrid space.
yeah,
Last year, um, I wasn't as interested. I mean, when I say as interested, I know the technologies, but that was not my, focus. It was not a
yeah, yeah.
prioritized focus.
Hmm.
I was focused on enterprise scale, CAF, accelerating. But then we saw a surge in that space. And so I shifted because one, there's a business need. It's a solving a solution or problem or business problems for our
Hmm.
customers and our partners. So that's an example where, I did that shift, being open-minded. If you had asked me when Azure Arc, when that first released, if it was something that I was, crazy about, I would honestly say, great service, read about it, but then on to the next thing.
Yeah, I know
But
what you
this
mean.
is
Yeah,
having that being open-minded. You shift to where are we, what's the focus, what business problems are we solving for. So that is one of the changes from working on premises. When I worked on premises, I focused on the technology, whereas in this new cloud world and working as a cloud solutions architect, we are here to solve business problems. So
hmm,
that is a shift. You know, delivering the impact. These are some of the terms that we use, but I mean, I think it's applicable, to everyone working in this space. We within Microsoft, we talk about, prioritizing your time and where you deliver impact, but I think it's
Hmm.
applicable to everyone, right? What is going on in the world now? There's multi-cloud, etc. How do we effectively move our customers into the cloud and do that in a secure way? And that sort of sets the tone, or shifts our focus to some of the things that we can focus on.
No, that makes a lot of sense, Vanessa. I think it's cool to hear somebody else framing that the way that you've done, because I think, going down and being that very specific type of consultant, and now all of a sudden, actually, you step out, and I agree with you 100%. I think a lot more people in tech, a lot more people in these consulting type roles need to kind of grow those business skills a little bit more, because you're
Absolutely.
right. It's not about the tech, it's about using technology to solve business problems, but
Yes.
how do you frame that? And you kind of, in my mind and my opinion, and I think you've echoed the same thing, you kind of need to push your own personal boundaries a bit to
Yes.
have that bigger picture, to
Yes.
understand. Like you mentioned arc there. I mean, the way that goes on in my head when somebody mentions something like arc, I can completely get why people would be turned off and go,
Hmm.
"Ooh, it's a bit of a monitoring thing, but we can monitor stuff on prem and in another cloud." And people might sit there and go, okay, great. But I think the art of the role that we do, I guess, with our customers, is to reimagine what that capability can actually do
Absolutely.
for the business. What does that mean? How, what
Yes.
does, right, great, you can monitor in a single platform now. You can do these cool cloud only type things on your on-prem servers. And to a
Hmm.
lot of people, what I find is that they might not get what that actually means and what does that translate into. And so I suppose it's that weird mix of technical capability mixed with how you can realize that for the particular business. So it's quite a, when you well, even when I'm speaking out loud like this now, it sounds like a really convoluted thing that you have to do in the role that you're doing. But I guess it's a fascinating role that you're working at the minute,
It
Vanessa.
is.
Otherwise, I mean, it probably takes us into our next area of conversation about that mentorship role that we spoke about off camera there, and you're doing some cool things at the moment with various different groups of people.
Hmm. Thank you.
Somebody after my own heart, bringing that kind of enthusiasm to other different groups, whether it's obviously graduates. I know you're doing a lot with people coming into tech for the first time.
Mhm.
Should we talk a little bit about that? What are you up to in that? And let's ask first, why do you do it, Vanessa? Why do you find a passion for that?
So why do I do it? I get fulfillment from sharing my experiences and exposing those opportunities to people who may not have thought of that as an opportunity for them as a career path and so forth. So I
Mhm.
think firstly is bringing awareness to what is out there. For us, we I count myself as being fortunate where I had parents who wanted, they have certain expectations,
Mhm.
but I also appreciate that not everyone has, that growing up. And so it's important for me, even as a parent, to reach, others who may not necessarily have that. So
Mhm.
within Microsoft, there are lots of initiatives where we get to give back to the community. And for me, I believe we speak to adults with regards to showcasing what is available, some of the opportunities that are available out there. But personally, I believe that we should start with sharing or showcasing those opportunities to young kids, right?
Mhm.
There are so many myths, misconceptions out there. I think it's important to dispel those, and really get close to the kids and showcase that, you don't have to be nerd is not a bad thing. You could
It's
be
quite
cool.
cool today, isn't it? It's cool to be
It's
a nerd today, isn't
cool.
it? I think.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
get to wear t-shirts, you can wear sneakers, you can be comfortable, and just showing that, it's not one dimensional. It's, people from different backgrounds that, those individuals they can relate to. So that is the first thing. Just, sort of getting rid of those stereotypes that
I
people who
know.
work
Yeah.
in tech. So
Mhm.
you make it more welcoming, showing that, I'm a female, or, I'm not, wearing a suit or anything. I could,
Yeah. Yeah.
but, you could be yourself. And there are different areas as well where you can focus. So the misconceptions where you have to do coding. I actually did, programming in school, but I wanted to get out as quickly as possible. And so I chose, to be honest, the easier path. It doesn't negate that I may not go back to it. I toy with it at times, but there are also other areas like cybersecurity. There's a lot of stuff out there. So, firstly, is
Mm.
bringing awareness so that individuals know what is out there, and then providing them with the tools and the roadmap. So it's easy to show what's out there. How do I get from point A to Z, right?
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
I
Sure.
get there? So that pipeline of showing someone, because it can be overwhelming. One, you don't have anyone who's close to you who is, like a mentor or an example of what that is, who's close to you. So providing that, offering that support, because it's like, how do you connect the dots? Okay, I take
Yeah.
my first course, then what? Then what? And in
Mm.
addition to the technical courses, what additional skills do I need? I mean, things like, I love Michael Jervis. He advocates for that high performance mindset. So, how do I prepare myself? How do I make myself? I need to think about resilience because, as you said, there are going to be situations where you have to be a bit of a disruptive thinker, right?
Hmm.
How do I equip myself with those tools to, win in those scenarios, right?
Hmm.
So it's a combination of those skills. I enjoy teaching, connecting one to one. A lot of people reach out. So I am social media shy, but a lot of people do reach out one to one on Twitter as well as LinkedIn, and I love it. Sometimes I have like 5 meetings per week, 10, 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't say no. Some weeks are a little busier than others, so I would
Hmm.
usually say, can we push it out by next week? But I literally enjoy spending time, referring to leveraging some of the existing uh, uh, resources that are available. Yourself, Gregor, Thomas, you guys have done a tremendous job of collating resources for individuals who are new to tech. So I share all that information, and in addition to that, I provide them sort of like a roadmap and give them that sort of support to say, you're not alone. It is a lot,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you'll get there, right?
No,
So
absolutely.
that's a realistic view. It's not easy, but it's enjoyable and it's so worth it. So
You know,
I absolutely enjoy doing that.
I
And then,
love I love the way that you said there, Vanessa. Just the fact that it's a case of you feel this urge to kind of impart the knowledge that you've had and some of the challenges that you may have had in your career as you've
yes,
walked through it and kind of
yes.
help others overcome that. Thank you for listing me with such great people in the community. I don't think I do half as much as those guys, but there's some. You're right though. There are some fantastic people in the community, like yourself, Vanessa. You say that I reached out to you because I mean, you can see in social, like you said, you were social media shy, and we get that. People don't use social media in the same ways, but you can see when people are doing some great things. And I think for me, it's pulling those. We want to change the industry we work in for the better because we
Yes.
know that the industry. We talk about women in tech, we talk about inspiring youngsters into technology, whether whatever sex they may be, but there are
Mhm.
some really important things that I think as an industry we're trying to do as individuals working in the industry. And sometimes we sit back and we think, how can I play a part in that? What can I do? And for me, it's having these kinds of conversations to kind of raise what is the problem? Why
Yeah.
is it a problem? And why is it important that we should be doing something about it? So, I mean, have you got any opinions on that, Vanessa, in terms of what you're doing at the moment, what you're kind of does it fit into this big picture kind of thinking as to what you're trying to inspire youngsters or women in tech? How do you view that, Vanessa?
So absolutely, I think in addition to doing that is, as I said, it can be overwhelming, especially when it's
Mm,
completely foreign to individuals. I just don't want people to give up. And it's my way of sort of ensuring that you have sort of like that, additional source of support. I think that is one of the reasons why I do it. And then equally, I hailed out the guys, but I need to give a shout out to the woman as well, Shannon,
mm,
Sarah. Like these are amazing women who,
absolutely, yeah.
they give their time. They're selfless. They share, on a weekly basis. It takes a lot of time to put together that content.
Hmm.
They're very intentional, and they're also people that you can reach out to should you need help. I just want to showcase or show examples of individuals where we come from diverse backgrounds. Some of these, some you speak with women in Microsoft, or even out in a bigger, audience out there, even with
Hmm.
Twitter. Their backgrounds, some are, I spoke last week to someone who has a law degree, a law background,
Hmm.
and she decided during the pandemic that she would like to shift to technology. And so she reached out, and we came up with a plan. And in doing that, it's okay to come up with a plan, but also, sort of reinforcing that, you can do it, but
Hmm.
showing them that I had my obstacles as well, and this is how I was able to overcome them. So showing that vulnerable side, I think it helps people to understand that, okay, it's tough, but if I stick with it, it's worthwhile. I think just, you know, doing that on a one-to-one basis. It's great to go on a stage and speak to a massive audience, but I think spending that one-to-one time showing that vulnerable side,
Hmm.
a lot of people can relate to that, and it really helps people get over the obstacles. Yeah, thank you.
No, absolutely, and I think it's that it's not just kind of bigging you up for doing that kind of thing, because I think there are a lot of people in the social platform space, I guess, in tech, that are doing very, like you say, there's so many names to call out there, both from so many different backgrounds, that it's right to call
Hmm.
that out, and I think it's doing a great thing because my own passion, I got involved with helping schools. So I got involved with a program called the Barefoot Computing Program, which was about going into primary schools and educating primary teachers how to kind of incorporate that computer science language into everyday syllabus lessons. So, kind of help kids learn from an early age, which I thought was a really cool idea. But then, you get into industry, then all of a sudden, look, let's face it, there's some negative things that go on in industry
Hmm.
right across a platform. But
Hmm.
I'm a firm believer of not completely ignoring the negativity, accepting and acknowledging that that exists, but speak about it in a positive manner, because
Hmm.
positivity builds positivity, as far as I'm concerned. And
Yes.
it's like I think it's like how do we get that message across, and how what are we trying to achieve here? And I think the bottom line for me is that a diverse, eclectic measure of different views, different backgrounds, different experiences right across the board brings out new and innovative solutions and ideas.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can boil it down to that. It's as simple as case as you can. You have too much of one thing, you're only going to get the same result every time. Effectively, is what it boils
Exactly.
down. So
Yeah.
look, I mean, like I said, when we had a chat a couple of weeks ago, it was like, I know we were just rattling off and running off in all sorts of different directions, and I know we're kind of contained to a certain time frame on here, to do this video. But look, it's cool to see that you're in that space and you're open to helping others, and people that will reach out to you and ask for your advice and help, things like that. But I guess to move into another bit of an area, the one kind of thing that I like to talk about with the guests on this show is to pick on your opinions on where we're going with technology, Vanessa. So at the minute, we've discussed the complete fast pace of change that we got with things like Azure and staying on top of those learnings. Why are we doing it? Why are we having to do this? What's your opinion, Vanessa? Where are we going with technology over the next 5 years or so?
Well, where are we going? So much to say on that. My personally, I'm interested also in the AI space, responsible AI. So I'm keeping a close eye on what's going on with regards to using facial recognition. That obviously is controversial. And, you know, that is, I could say so much on that, but
No, I know.
yeah, so I'm interested in that space, and also as you mentioned, there is a lot of negativity, but we need to champion the positive. So equally, I've also seen a surge in women pursuing the profession as well, professions in
Hmm.
technology. So what I would like to also encourage is that for the experienced individuals who work in technology, who do have a platform and are not social media shy, to be welcoming and show that empathy. It's interesting to hear that a lot of these individuals, people who are new or curious, they reach out and they do not get a response. Now, I do appreciate that during the pandemic and we are burnt out. So that's, I'm not saying, you have to respond, but just being, showing some empathy. And if even if you're unable to provide support, just sort of steering them in a direction where they can get that help. So those are the two things, the workforce, building up in the workforce, seeing a surge of women pursuing the profession. How do we maintain or, keep that growing? So that's one area. And then I know I'm infrastructure. I'm getting into the Azure Arc hybrid space. So that is a passion, but specifically, I'm interested in what in the next 5 years, keen to see what happens in the AI, responsible AI
Mm,
space. So
mm.
specifically, I followed Joy. She had a Netflix documentary with facial recognition, the
I saw
IRS.
that. I did see that. That
So
was a cool, yeah, that was a really cool
yeah,
documentary,
so
wasn't it?
things like that. Now, when we were having drinks, we have conversations. Oh, that could never happen. And
Mm.
it's crazy when, you look at movies and you see these sci-fi movies and you think 20, 25 years ago that, these things would not exist today. Well, huh.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I literally I did a program when I was like, AI was one of my electives, and I did a program and I joked about it, using clips to decide what shoes you would recommend based on the definition and the colors or attributes of your outfit. And who would have thought that that would exist today? So, we joke about things, but I don't take those things for granted, especially uh, in the AI space. So that is an area that I'm curious about. And who knows, if I have some bandwidth, I'll definitely pursue that further.
Oh, definitely.
Again, yeah.
I am still here. It's just my camera's gone a bit wonky at the minute, Vanessa. So give it a minute or two. I'm sure it'll come back. But no, I mean, it's really cool to kind of hear that, you're kind of coupling the stuff that you're interested in now today and what's going on in that space with actually, how can you kind of introduce other people to those kind of cool technologies as well? Bear with, why isn't this coming back on? There we go. I'm back in the room. Yeah, got to click the right button. See, technology, this is what happens all the time. This is the joys of doing these shows. But yeah, I mean, in terms of, you mentioned those technologies there, things like Azure Arc and, how those
Mhm.
things are going to progress, but then how they're going to kind of incorporate with other technologies like AI and how, like, AI seems to be everywhere, right? Yeah, I mean,
And
AI is,
security, cybersecurity is another one. So again, I don't know, like I follow Yuri, I follow a few of the Nicola. I think because I worked in FSI in the US and in exchange, having that security and compliance hat, I
yeah.
never took it off. And so that's another area, cybersecurity, where I keep a close eye of what's going on in that domain. I
Hmm.
think it's an amazing area for anyone who's also new and thinking of pursuing a profession in technology. I think it's a great space. I'm also a member of the Women in Tech in Microsoft in the UK, and when you think of topics to just, showcase to the kids,
Hmm.
that was a topic where the kids, they were like crazy over it. They were really excited, and it was really nice to see that as well.
Yeah.
I gave, just provided an overview of, what is it, some of the top 5 roles, where to start, an
Yeah.
ethical hacker, sort of teasing them with some of the roles and so forth. And then equally, I provided some games where they can have fun. So, it doesn't have to be, calculus. People in their head, they
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
there are some tough, difficult topics. And even when I took an exam yesterday, we were just talking about that, networking and in the cloud space, it
Yeah.
is not an easy topic. But if you have the support of your colleagues and other members in the community, you can get through it. So it it doesn't have to be. It's not calculus. It's not math. So
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
one of the misconceptions. Like I
And
did, calculus in school, and I certainly haven't used it in in my role. So
I mean,
definitely,
things seem to be abstracting away, don't they, at the moment? I think, back to your point about how to inspire kids and how to get them really
yeah,
interested in those areas. One of the things, and to be honest with you, it's probably meant more to inspire kids, but it inspires me. I love it. Is I've been tinkering around in the IoT space with things like, kind of embedded boards and various bits and pieces that you can kind of hook up to your computer and such sort of program. So I don't know if you've come across the thing, the micro bits, the BBC,
yeah, yeah,
so those kind of things, and using kind of like the logic blocks that you can drop in front of each other like jigsaw pieces and
yeah.
create your own little program. There's some really cool things out there today that I think, God, I wish they were around when I was a kid. Do you know what I
I
mean? To
know.
kind of,
I think my colleague actually did one for a session for the kids with the IoT sensors with a cookie jar. That was
yeah,
fun. The kids
yeah,
really
yeah.
loved that.
They just,
Yeah.
I mean, they're great examples of how to inspire people into the industry, and I like, I'm a firm believer, especially with the conversations that we hear today about bringing more people into a workforce. It's almost like you need to get in at that grassroots level to kind of build that
Mhm.
inspiration so that kids want to move into that area. And you gave some great examples about people moving careers over the pandemic. And I think
Yes.
absolutely, anybody can. I mean, I'm one of those kind of really positive thinkers in the sense that you can do anything if you really want to do it. If you set your
Mhm.
mind to it and that's what you want to do, I'm a firm believer that anybody can achieve whatever it is that they want. But I think you've got to be a certain type of person, I believe, to have that
Mhm.
mindset in the first place. And if you have, and like you say, being empathetic with others that don't think the same way as
Mhm.
you, um, it may be difficult to move careers. So I
Yeah.
think, look, this is where the inspiration has to come in my opinion, at an early age, because then it's like, I remember it. For me, it was the whole space thing. It was the rockets. It was the traveling to the moon. It was seeing somebody build a computer in front of me and me in awe looking at them, going, how do you know what all of these bits do? And
Yeah.
and it's those kind of, I don't know, almost. Just mundane moments that to a kid are kind of like that's the opener to the gateway to that kind of career. I
Yeah.
look back now, and who would have thought that, like, for me, I remember sitting down and watching somebody build a computer. I must have been about 9 or 10 maybe at the time. I've used Commodore 64s and
I had a
those kind of
Commodore
computers.
64 too.
Yeah, yeah, got the games. I had the
Yeah.
dot matrix. I had the 5 1/4 inch floppy as well. Then Vanessa, I had the full shebang. I had the works, but um,
That's
but it was
awesome.
seeing somebody like. Of course, we bought them. I didn't have the foggiest idea what was
Yeah.
inside the things. It was just like, yeah, I can do this. I can read code from magazines and type it in and
I
get
was
into the
just about
program.
to say that, and back then we had to
Yeah,
read the books.
that's right. And type it in, and then you realize you made an error somewhere because it wasn't working. But
Oh,
but
no.
yeah, but I guess the point is that everybody can be an inspiration. And I guess
Mhm.
everybody can have that moment of, if you can impart some of your knowledge to somebody, like you say, in
Absolutely.
some
Yeah.
way for positive, do it. I mean, it's such a like I guess for me over the last 2 years, I've done a bit more public facing stuff, just having fun. I mean, for me, it's about having fun. If I didn't enjoy
That's the most important
doing
thing
this,
too.
mm,
You have to do it from a place. You have to have fun doing it, else it's not genuine. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, definitely, I agree with that. You have to have fun while doing it. Yeah.
And you know, you touched on it earlier, and I think it's safe to say that there's what I've spotted is there seems to be a lot of this fear of missing out going on between colleagues, friends, other people, where you almost feel you have to be learning about that and you have to be learning about that. I've suffered with it to a certain extent because it's like, okay, what's the next thing? And I guess you touched on it earlier, is that you've got to just choose the bits that interest you and focus on
Yes.
those bits.
Mhm.
I mean, have you got? I mean, before we wrap up, Vanessa, have you got any tips or hints about how to choose your technology? I mean, how do you choose the areas that you look on?
So I think it's a combination of a few things. My personality, what I like, where I'm at in my life. So that has changed over the decades or over the years. So it's that pillar. Um, Also, what's going on in the industry, what's the next hot thing, or what
Hmm.
is going to be the next hot thing, and then uh, what are some of the most common problems that businesses, that's the shift from being a complete techie to now we're in that architect hat. So and even as a beginner you can start exercising that muscle. What problems do I want to solve for? And then
Hmm.
sort of deduce that to what are some of the available technologies that are out there. And
Hmm.
then the fourth pillar is, in my role, if the person is in their role, you know, can I do that in that existing role, or are there opportunities for me to gain that exposure outside of my job? So within the
That's a
community,
massively valid point there.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I think it's not a single answer.
No,
It's a multifaceted response, but that is what works for me. It's a
but I
combination.
think that's the point. Yeah, Vanessa, is that there is no right or wrong, and you know, sort of binary answer to any of these things. I think they all are multifaceted things, and I think for me, like you do, I speak with a lot of graduates coming into the industry, and the one thing I always try and say is follow what most interests you. What
Yes,
do you feel drawn towards? You know,
passionate about. Yeah.
you've got these big list of words that might just mean nothing. Which one
Hmm.
looks nice? Which one do you feel you're drawn to? Start there. And you
Yeah.
know, look, you can explore all of the other areas in good time, but I think yeah, it's just about it's that whole thing of not spreading yourself too thinly, isn't it? You know, like you say,
Yes.
it's
Absolutely. Yeah.
you're
It's
almost
like,
expected to know a lot about a lot today,
yeah.
and it's you know, is that how it's going to be going forward? Because it's hard work, you know.
I know. It's like those, the TikTok videos. Millennials, they have all these TikTok videos, and there's one specifically that is hilarious to me, where, they're making fun of whatever, and it says it does not align with my journey. So it is
Right. Okay.
important to assess what your values are, what are your aspirations, and then, have that align with the journey. Or, I don't know if I'm seeing it right, but it makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
So, it's a little joke that I have, in my head, that that has to align with my journey, or it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, that does not align with my
I
journey.
guess that's a great way of trying to make a
You know?
quick decision on right, does that fit for me or not, and kind of set because you can end up doing too much, I guess, can't you? You can end
Yes.
up doing lots of stuff like you say that aren't aligned to where you want to be in life or
Yeah.
where you want to be heading towards. So look, and that's the point, isn't it? I think that's the big encouraging point is that everybody's journeys are going to be different and vastly different in some respects.
Yes.
And that's not a bad thing. That is great. But just realize that, recognize it, and try not to get bogged down in the distractors. And there will
Yeah.
be lots of distractors, I think is
Lots of
probably fair to say.
distractors. Yeah. Another thing I would say also is to align with individuals who are in more senior roles, so that you can also learn from them. So, seek coaching and mentors. And it doesn't have to be a single person, because you can have as many as you like, and each individual can focus on an area that you would like to build, a specific
Mm,
skill that you'd like to build. I think, a lot of people are of the belief that, you have to have a single mentor. I think having multiple
mm,
sometimes that can achieve or tick this, the boxes, several boxes, because, on this journey, it's not a single skill. It's multifaceted, as we
yeah.
previously mentioned. So I think it's important to have that, right? Speak to someone where you can learn from them, associate yourself with individuals where you can learn from them. And it is equally important to have great listening skills. Someone posted that on Twitter. I think it's a superpower. It's a
Mm.
superpower within yourself and also when working with customers and our partners. I think it's extremely important. I think having those skills, that's your toolkit to success.
Yeah, you're right. You are so right, and I think just being able to kind of use those listening skills and interpret them to something meaningful, isn't it? I mean, on your
Yes.
point about the mentorship as well, I'll call out there. So, what Microsoft I know are doing at the moment with the Microsoft Student Learn Ambassador program. So they got this a program
Hmm.
for graduates to take part in. It's called the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. They're kind of especially in the UK and Ireland at the moment is that they're encouraging the MVP community to speak with the Microsoft Learn student ambassadors for that, like you suggested there, Vanessa, that right one to one or one to many kind of mentoring kind of opportunity. And look, there's some absolutely amazing people in the MVP program in Microsoft with some, well, mind blowing experiences out
Yeah.
there. So it's for students coming into the industry, I don't think you could you've got those people that are keen and eager to impart their knowledge and they've done some fantastic things. So it's like if you happen to be watching this, go and sign up for it because it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity.
I think it's awesome because it's amazing how the students, when they come in, because they're new to the technology, they tend to think outside of the box.
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
not in that safe, they haven't been indoctrinated. I think
yeah.
they're the best to work with. Some of the programs we did an initiative. It was just a week, and I was just amazed at the solutions that these kids came up with. And it was just we provided them with the resources. We told them go wild. There's no
Mm,
boundary. You know, think, just, come up with something, but identify what you're, define that scope and run with it.
mm,
And I mean, it was mind blowing. Some of the solutions that these kids came up with, using Power Platform, those services, additional services. I was just blown away. So definitely, aligning with experienced individuals, giving them that listening, reassurance, empowering them. You need to feel empowered, right?
hmm.
If you don't feel empowered, you're going to be limited in terms of your scope of what you can do. You're going to second guess yourself
Hmm.
constantly. We will always have imposter syndrome. That's not going to go away.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
However, to counter that, it's important to have that positive self-talk,
Hmm.
right? Every human being, we are going to experience that. The most experienced person, I mean, Satya, I'm sure when he has to speak on the stage, he probably has, I'm thinking, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone, the point I'm making is that no one is immune to that, and we all experience it. So to counter that is focus on the things that you are doing, excelling at, and give yourself that self-talk. Remind yourself, I am worthy of this. I can do this. I may
Hmm.
not know X, Y, and Z, but that's an opportunity for me to focus my efforts and gain additional skills in that area. I think that's a good way of countering that. And I have to do it. When I feel overwhelmed, when I'm second guessing myself, that is what I do. You could
Hmm.
do this. Come on, girl, you could do this. Like
Yeah.
literally, I'm like
Oh, I'm
really
with you. You're a hundred.
head.
No, from my experience, you're 100% right. Because look, I mean, to pick you up on that point about imposter syndrome, I completely agree. everybody I've spoken to, look, people aren't as open as other people, but
Yeah.
absolutely they have those elements of self doubt. And I
Yeah.
think it's only natural. Look, when you're learning new things, you're involved with, or you're seeing lots of other people learn about these new things and potentially talk about them in ways that you don't understand.
Mhm.
Clearly, that's going to make you feel a little bit unnerved, a little bit, and that's
Mhm.
natural. But just realize
Yes.
that that is a thing as well that will
Yeah.
hold you back from achieving what you want to achieve. So just recognize it. If you can, try and park it and
Yeah.
move on. Just, it's I know, and I know that's far easier said than done. But I think,
Easier said than done, but
yeah,
those are the tips, those are the tools that you can use.
yeah, yeah,
We all experience it. Like especially when you're new to a team,
hmm,
you're in the process of getting to know individuals. I've had that where I had these great ideas. I had some questions that once they were raised in an open forum, it would have brought more awareness to the additional team members. And I
mm,
went to my manager and I said, I wanted to ask this, but I was, a bit shy and I did not. She was like, go ahead. Why
mm,
wouldn't you? She was like, that's an excellent question. When I
yeah,
asked that question, oh, there were several individuals who wanted to know the answer, and it brought awareness. And then suddenly, we were all collaborating, pasting articles. We shared additional resources right there and then. So
yeah,
that's a perfect example where, I'm not immune from feeling like I feel like that at times. I
hmm,
can be shy. So when you feel like that, find an ally, find someone that you can speak to get that reassurance that, what you're feeling, it's normal.
hmm,
However, you should feel empowered to do that. You should feel empowered to ask that question because there are others who can learn from it. So
hmm.
go out, be brave. You can be shy, but let that be momentarily. And then, with the support of an ally or a manager or a colleague, use them, leverage your peers as well to boost your confidence a bit. These are the things that I've had to do. There's, as you said, there isn't a single answer, but those are some tips that can help in the moment when you feel, a bit discouraged or overwhelmed. And yeah.
No, absolutely, Vanessa. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat
Oh,
with you
thank
for
you.
for this last.
Likewise.
Thank no,
Thank you.
thank you so much for giving up your time and coming on and saying hello. I'm just looking at the clock now. I mean, I could carry on speaking to you for
I
another
know,
couple of
me
hours.
too.
I think it's been so much fun. So, look, Vanessa, no doubt we're going to see you across socials anyway now over
Yes.
the coming
Should meet up
months
for
and
drinks.
weeks. Oh, do you know what? I can't wait. I can't wait till we can get back to
Oh, and I like
in-person
to
events.
drink
And
as well. So that makes me normal. I'm not.
well, I'm saying nothing, Vanessa. I'm saying nothing. I keep saying to people, I pity the bar ecosystem around an in-person event for a tech event for the
Yeah,
first few months. It's going to be well, they're
it's
going to
gonna
love
be
it. They'll be
wild.
raking that money, yeah. But no, no doubt, we'll probably be bumping into each other at the XL Centre in London at some
Absolutely.
stage, no doubt. But Vanessa, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank
We'll
you.
we'll call it there.
Likewise.
It's been some really great information and tips, and I'll put all your details below. So if you're watching this and you want to reach out to Vanessa, her details are going to be below in the video there, so in the comment section. So it leaves me to say thank you for being such an awesome guest, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me. I had fun today. Thank you.
Anytime, and I will catch you. I will
Bye.
catch you very soon. Ta-da for now.
Awesome. Take care. Goodbye.